Welcome in. What's going on, everybody? CJ Hurt. Another wonderful edition of HBCU Huddle. No Mike in studio. Mike is on his way back from Birmingham, which is where I was yesterday for SWAC Media Days. We've got a lot of sound coming in from the SWAC Media Days. But before we get there, let me set the show. Like I said, we got stuff coming from SWAC Media Days. We got Coach Bo Bivens back on the show with us. We're going to talk some about not just HBCU All-Star. We're also going to talk some about some of the scouting work that he is doing for Team USA, for their junior Olympic team, for their junior international team, So we'll talk to him about that. Got sound from the commissioner of the SWAC, Charles McClelland. Got our SWAC Media Day recap with me and Mike Wallace. So much to get to, so little time. Let's first start with family member, cousin of the show, at the family cookout. He would be there. Donal Ware has been a regular on this show for the longest. And I've been trying to get up with him, trying to meet up with him when I'm in D.C. He's not in D.C. When he's been in town, I haven't been in town. We tried to get together at last year's SWAC Media Day. He ended up not coming down, but he was there in person yesterday for SWAC Media Days. We were able to sit down with him right before the SWAC Media Days got started and catch up with him about not just what's going on in the SWAC and the MEAC, but all of black college football as we get geared up for the start of the regular season. Let's hear from Donal Ware yesterday live at SWAC Media Days. Welcome back to HBCU Huddle. We're live at SWAC Media Day, and look who I stumbled across. Look who we did. Family member, cousin. SWAC Media Day is a big family gathering. Who better to exemplify that than Donal Ware of Box to Roll? Donal Ware cultivates the coaches poll, the media poll as well. Donal, how's everything going, man?
I'm good, CJ. What's going on with you, man? Good to see you.
Man, it's good. It's good. I'm glad you could make it. You were at MEAC Media Day up in D.C. What were your major takeaways from that?
Yeah, I think, obviously North Carolina Central picked to win it. I think was good. But the team I'm really looking at, I think that's going to surprise a lot of people, is Howard this year. Quentin Williams comes back at the quarterback spot. They've got a good defense. A lot of the players are coming back. I think when you look at that squad, everybody's talking about Central. But you know who else is going to bounce back? South Carolina State. Because I think they're refocused this year as well. So if I had to pick, my dark horse would be Howard. I think I'm going to pick Howard, but watch out for South Carolina State, too.
All right. Well, we're here in Birmingham at SWAC Media Days. Everything is getting set up, looking around, seeing all the beautiful people. Commissioner McClelland is walking around here somewhere. Before the day gets started, what are some of the storylines that intrigue you the most coming out of the SWAC?
Number one, what's going on at Florida A&M? This is the second year in a row that we've had something preseason with the Rattlers, and it affected them, I think, to some degree. Now, the Jackson State, they got blown out, Jackson State. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about that game, the doubt in that game. But these kind of things that keep happening there prior to the season, kind of self-inflicted wounds, big storylines. I'm looking to see what Willie Simmons has to say today.
Absolutely. Who are some players you're excited to talk to today at SWAC Media Days? There's some players that you are like, oh, that guy could very easily walk away at the end of this season as the Black College Football National Player of the Year.
The Howard kid from Alcorn. I give Jeremy Musa all the credit in the world. I think Howard should have been the preseason selection for Player of the Year in the SWAC. That guy's really good to transfer. He had a great season last year, transfer from Syracuse to running back for Alcorn State. So that's who I'm looking. But Musa and a lot of the I'm looking forward to talking with all of these guys.
Absolutely. I am trying to figure out what to make of Jackson State. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, listen, the prime effect is real. It's tangible. You can feel it. But Jackson, Mississippi, and that Jackson State fan base has always supported that football program. So while I think there will be a bit of a fall off from an attendance standpoint because the national media is not there. Like, you're not getting college football game day to come to Jackson, Mississippi if Deion Sanders isn't the coach. I think the fan support, though, will still be there and be strong. But what will it be on the football field? TC Taylor's first year as head coach. What are your expectations for Jackson State this season and going forward?
I think people will be surprised. I think people are, to some degree, to your point, because it's not all this national coverage with respect to Jackson State, writing the Tigers off a little bit. T.C. Taylor, one of the great receivers when you look at the numbers in terms of his time at Jackson State, very well respected. Yes, they got 70 new players that are going to be on that Jackson State squad. With that being said, there's still a lot of key players from last year, and while I still like Fam in the East, I still think Jackson State's going to have a pretty good season.
All right, Donal, we'll get you out of here on this one. If I asked you right now, SWAC championship game, who will it be? You've given me your MEAC champ. Give me your SWAC championship game picks, and then give me your champion so I know who to look out for before I head to Atlanta in November for the Celebration Bowl.
FAMU. Okay. Southern this year winning that SWAC championship. Okay. I like Southern this year for the SWAC championship.
First time since, I think, 2013 they'd be SWAC champions. All right. You heard it from Donal Ware. This has been HBCU Huddle. We got more coming to you, and as always, stay plugged in. Grind City Media on the app, on the YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcast from. That was Donal Ware. I got a Grambling man, a G-man in the house. Did not like to hear him predict Southern to win it all, but that was his preseason pick. Will be Mike and myself. We'll give our preseason SWAC picks closer to the season. I don't like giving preseason picks this far out because things happen. Strange things happen. Players could get injured, and that could drastically change the scope of the projection of a team's season. So a little bit closer to regular season, Mike and I will give our SWAC championship picks. It was a great time down there at SWAC Media Days, though. We talked to Coach Woody of Bethune-Cookman. We did talk to T.C. Taylor as well, head coach from Jackson State. You can actually see that T.C. interview up on Grind City Media's social right now on YouTube and on Twitter. Just search Grind City Media, and we're up there in the fold. You can follow me on Twitter at ConRadicalness as well, and you can see some of the interviews from yesterday there if you would like as well. But one of the interviews that we have got to get to, because he is so very important to the continued growth and the legacy and the overall health and strength of the conference, is Commissioner Charles McClelland. The commissioner was kind enough to sit down with us and talk about a wide range of things, everything from the naming of the new SWAC headquarters building to what their expectations, they being the SWAC's expectations, are as far as primetime games are concerned, not just on streaming, but on linear television. Let's take a listen to what Commissioner McClelland had to say about the SWAC. Welcome back to HBCU Huddle, live from SWAC Media Day, joined now by Commissioner Charles McClelland. Commissioner, how's it been?
Been going very well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. I talked to you last year around this time. It was SWAC Media Day last year. If we take a look back from last year's SWAC Media Day to the day before today, so yesterday, right, what's been the thing that you've been most proud of in that 365-day period as commissioner?
Just the growth of the league, the popularity of the league, and the ability for us to get our name, image, and likeness out from a national platform. We have been extremely strong and popular in the South, but we've been able to expand that outside of the South. We've been able to expand that nationally. I'm on a fair amount of committees. As you know, I'm on the NCAA basketball committee. And when you have Power 5 commissioners, when you have Power 5 athletic directors that know your coaches, know your cities, know your stadiums, that lets you know that you're making an impact. And one of my proudest moments, as I was sitting in the committee room watching all of these games on the screen, and all of the committee members are there, on the upper right-hand corner, it was the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And I kind of had to take a deep breath to say, we're watching teams, placing teams into the field, and look, there's the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and to me, that was an aha moment.
That's great. There, as you talk about continuing to grow the brand of the SWAC, one of the ways you are doing it, one of the partners with ESPN, there are not one, not two, but 3 weeknight games on ESPN, the ESPN family of networks this coming up season. For those who don't know, the September 21st matchup between Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alabama A&M. Then you have the November 2nd matchup between Mississippi Valley State and Bethune-Cookman. And then November 10th, it'll be Arkansas Pine Bluff again playing Grambling. How did this come about? How were these games selected? And what does this mean for the conference?
You know, those games are actually a part of our contract. So they're Thursday night, Friday night games. What we've been pushing for, and we actually got 2 of those, are some Saturday day live games. So what we want is what the Power 5 has. We want prime time Saturday games. HBCU Go has brought that to the table, and now ESPN is bringing more of those to the table. So nationally televised games is ultimately what we wanted. But I would have to go back and say, as we analyze the statistics as far as viewership is concerned, we had some ESPN Plus games that outdrew primetime ESPN games for us. So it's not just a linear standpoint now. We're getting larger numbers on digital as we are on linear. So the game has kind of changed as to how America are watching, and they are tuning in both digitally and linear to watch SWAC games. But we're excited about those primetime games, but we also are excited to say that over 80% of our football games will be on some form of national platform.
That's amazing. That is awesome when you think about SWAC being an FCS conference and you're going up against the big boys, and not just the FBS but the power conferences as well. That is really impressive. Recently, the SWAC headquarters here in Birmingham, the name of the building changed, correct? It is now the Dr. James Frank building, correct? Did you have a relationship with them beforehand, and what's it mean to you to have that building named after a man like that?
Sure, yeah, I did have a relationship. He came back to be interim commissioner my first and second year as an athletics director, when I was young athletics director at Prairie View A&M University. But we purchased that building. We paid the note off last year. And based upon all of the things that Dr. Frank has done for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, it was only fitting to put his name on it. He ushered in several female sports, softball he brought in. He brought in soccer as well. He was the first African-American, the only African-American president of the NCAA. He oversaw the league probably at its height during the 80s and the 90s with all of the, the Archie Coolies and the W.C. Gordons and, the Marino Cassams. So he was the architect of really elevating the BET. Charlie Neal is walking around here. I was a young kid at home watching BET with Charlie Neal, and now he's with HBCU Go. All of that was under the auspice of Dr. Frank. So it was just fitting that his name would live forever on the SWAC headquarters because he did so much for the conference.
Commissioner McClelland, I could talk to you for another 35, 45 minutes. We're going to let you go, though. Thank you so much for your time, man. We appreciate it. That was the commissioner of the SWAC, Commissioner Charles McClelland. A couple of things that were really, really interesting that stood out to me, and I wish I had more time with them so we could get into these things. But maybe at the Celebration Bowl this year, I'll get a little bit more time with them. A couple of things. The fact that on ESPN Plus, they were able to have a couple of games that outdrew linear's ESPN in primetime, that is impressive. That speaks to the interest around the conference right now. And while some of that interest, and he made mention of it in his opening statements about the Coach Prime effect, Deion Sanders, formerly head coach of Jackson State, now gone to Colorado, while he did make mention of the interest that came around Jackson State because of Deion Sanders, he did make it very clear in that opening statement. And if you go back and listen to the interview, during the interview, that's not the end of this. They're still going to continue to push the SWAC brand to the best of their abilities. And one of those ways is to get games on in prime time on Saturdays, on college football Saturdays. My thought has always been, hey, why don't you just pick a day not on Saturday? Because it's a lot to ask for a non-FBS conference, a non-Power 5 conference especially, to go up against the SEC slate of games or the Big Ten slate of games, and why not just, we've seen the MAC do it, just take a day during the week. Hey, we'll have 2 games on. We'll have a game on at 6:30. We'll have a game on at 9:30 for you as well on like a random, on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is SWAC Wednesdays or what have you. But Commissioner McClelland made it clear before I can even get to that question, What we want is to be on Saturdays in prime time. So that'll be great to see how he makes that become a reality. If any commissioner can at the FCS level, I think it's Commissioner Charles McClelland. So many other things happen at SWAC Media Days. We have a lot of great interviews that we've locked away in the vault. We'll be releasing them throughout the course of the weeks leading up to the season. So if you want to hear from Sonny Anderson, Grambling State defensive end, who is probably by most people's accounts the most NFL-ready HBCU prospect. If you want to hear from him, if you want to hear from Lewis Matthews, leading tackler in the SWAC from last year, who's returning to that Grambling defense. If you want to hear from Bethune-Cookman head coach Woody, if you want to hear from him before they played, they come to Memphis to take on the Tigers first week of the season. If you want to hear from him and so many others, keep coming back to HBCU Huddle. We'll have all of those interviews plus more in the coming weeks. Let's end our SWAC Media Day coverage with Mike and myself. We sat down at the end of SWAC Media Days as all the dust settled and all the calm restored to the Sheridan ballrooms. We sat down and we shared some of our thoughts, some of the highlights for us from SWAC Media Day. Let's hear what myself and Mike had to say.
2023 SWAC football kickoff media day is behind us. I'm Michael Wallace, CJ Hurt. We've had you covered all day long with all the top newsmakers, all the top storylines. And now as we wrap up, we want to give you our biggest takeaways from the day. It started off with the predicted order of finish. We know Southern University is predicted to win the SWAC West. And in the East, not Jackson State, but Florida A&M and Willie Simmons is predicted to come out of the SWAC East. So you're looking at going into the season, Southern and Florida A&M in the SWAC championship game. We'll see, because a lot of teams want to disrupt that flow, want to disrupt that predicted order of finish. So CJ, as we go back through sort of our quick thoughts and our recaps on the day, what stood out most to you in terms of a day full of information, full of exciting interviews, and things that you're going to catch on Grind City Media and HBCU Huddle all season long?
I did not realize how many new players that Jackson State had. I knew they had a bunch of transfers coming in. I knew they had a bunch of new guys, but we don't know anything about this team. It's completely different right now. T.C. Taylor talked with us, and one of the things he said is don't be discouraged because you only see one player from Jackson State on the preseason all-SWAC team. They just don't know yet. People will find out real soon, so I look forward to seeing that. And sat down with my man, Coach McNair, and he was everything I wanted him to be, Mike. He's amazing. Coach, what do you do to relax outside of football? I paint football fields. Like, Coach, that's not outside of football, dog, but you got it. It was so much fun. The SWAC Media Days is always one of my favorite times of the year.
And I tell you what, CJ, just being able to capture that interview between you and Coach McNair, it meant everything. We talk about Coach McNair almost every week on the HBCU Huddle, and to see these two men side by side, basically, men's, just fresh off of Kroger's.
He gave me men's and people's. It's like, yes, give it to me, Coach.
You know it. For me, the biggest takeaway was just the calm nature, just the the self-awareness that Florida A&M came into the building here with. They know that this is their time. They know that they have the longest HBCU winning streak right now, longest FCS winning streak at 9 straight games when you talk about what they're able to do on the HBCU ranks coming into this season. So this is the year. They played runner-up to Jackson State the last 2 years in this conference. Deion Sanders and the primetime era is behind us, and now it's Willie Simmons and Florida A&M's time if they truly believe they're ready to take that next step to the Celebration Bowl. They're going to be playing for this trophy right here behind us. So we're right here in Birmingham. That trophy will be meeting us in Atlanta in mid-December, and we're looking forward to a season full of coverage on the HBCU Huddle, Grind City Media. Make sure you download the app and catch everything. So before we sign off, CJ, I'm going to give you the last word. Your biggest thing as you head back now, we're looking forward, is August. Tip-off, kickoff is right around the corner. First game of the season, August 26th, MEAC SWAC Challenge, Jackson State versus South Carolina State. We got about a month left. What are you hoping to see?
I hope to see the continued growth of the conference. And Commissioner McClelland talked about that, and he made mention, listen, we got games on ESPN. The SWAC has games on ESPN, but they also had games on ESPN Plus last year that outdrew primetime games on ESPN. So I look forward to watching, because I'm a big picture guy. I look forward to trying to see if the SWAC can get more primetime games and get on not just during the weekdays, but also on these college football Saturdays, if ESPN will be brave enough to throw them up there. And let's see if the eyeballs translate.
And more from CJ and Commissioner McClelland. We had that here as well, too. So keep it locked on Grind City Media, the HBCU Huddle, and the all-new Grind City Media app.
All right, that was us from SWAC Media Day yesterday. Not only I listed off everybody that we talked to, also got to catch up with Coach Fred McNair over at Alcorn State, and he was great as well. We'll have all of those interviews coming up in the coming weeks leading up to the football season. It's around the corner, baby. You can almost taste it in the air. I cannot wait. When we get back, we'll be talking to Coach Bo Bivens, national scout for not just HBCU All-Star, but also for BAM as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to HBCU Huddle on Grind City Media app. Rob, we got a banger that you guys need to play. So I'm going to send this to you right here, and you just play it for the people. We are SEC.
It just means more.
We got all the Southeast with me.
Oh, yes, we do.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Yeah, hold up, park the Rose truck. Why not pull up Lambo car and pop it with the doors up? This got colossal, I got models trying to pay me to tell her the price then went up. It's gonna cost more than the buck. Know that shit gonna be high, it got my name on this chronic. Driving slow now, but this car goes 0 to 60 if I punch it. She wake up and munch it, let me put.
Topic number 1, I think, was not so creative.
Okay.
And it is the new color of this eggplant retro foam.
Okay. I was going to bring the actual original in, and I forgot.
Well, we have a picture of the original, too. If we could go to that second. Okay. Okay. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Memphis.
Where you at?
Where you at?
Where you at?
This is unbelievable.
Where you at?
Monday Night Raw is where it's at.
Where you at?
Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Live in Memphis, Monday, August 28th. Tickets and ringsider packages available now.
Welcome back to HBCU Huddle. I'm pleased to be joined by Coach Bo Bivens. Bo Bivens, for those of you who don't know, former coach at Clark Atlanta, currently a HBCU scout, a scout for HBCU All-Star, the All-Star Game featuring HBCU seniors that gets played Final Four weekend. He's also working with BAM as well, and he's in town, so we had to get Coach Bo on. He's in town for the USA men's under 18 team, or boys junior team, under 18. They're here. They got some tournaments going on. They're getting their measurements taken as well. Coach Bo, great to have you in, man.
CJ, always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you for having me in.
We had to do it. You know we had to. You're quickly becoming a family member also. This is your second time. One more time, Coach. One more time. You cousin, baby. All right, let's get things started. HBCU All-Star, how was that this past season, and what was it like being a part of that event?
Oh, it was great. It was great. HBCU All-Stars as an executive scout afforded me the opportunity to just travel, see as many players and games as I could, meet the players and the coaches at these various institutions. It was great. It was great, man. I had a good time. It was some places that I went to where, it was kind of hostile. The environment was hostile.
Where?
So I'm like,
where?
Oh, that's all right. It was Alabama State, and they played FAMU.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? And it got kind of...
Yeah.
What were they doing?
I mean, the crowd, man, the energy from the crowd, they have like a student section, but they kind of like a dance team.
Okay.
Right? So they got these different chants and these different dances that they do, and it kind of resonates throughout the crowd, you know, and then the band is there, and so, it was going in.
The thing that people might not know is that passion that most schools have for their football program.
Correct.
It very easily translates to other sports on campus, and basketball is one of those sports. If I ask you, putting you on the spot, and I hate doing it to people, but I'm going to do it anyways. Couple of really good basketball arenas at the HBCU level. You're a scout. You've been to a lot of them. You have. Who would you say stands out when you think about just nice basketball arena? Nice, and not just arena, whole basketball experience. Nice basketball arena, great fan environment, quality basketball program, a little bit of history in there. Who stands out to you? I'm putting you on the spot, Coach.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough because I'm biased, right? Start with a G, end with a G, baby. I think initially we played in the old gym, how we called it. But then when they built, the Fred D. Hobley Center, it afforded us more space, a nice comfort, where you don't feel overcrowded. But the atmosphere, at Grambling is always going to be electric, since we are world famed with our band. The legendary, grounds of Coach Eddie G. Robinson. I mean, it don't get any better. But outside of the G, man, it's tough. I think Morehouse does a good job versus Clark Atlanta at their place, and vice versa. Yeah. Clark Atlanta, gym isn't as large, but it does get packed. The house get packed over there. I think Alabama State has a nice venue. It's like I say, well settled, in regards to seating. It's not a bad seat in the house. Mississippi Valley.
Valley, really?
Oh my God, like
Valley.
Oh man, boy, they moved up like George and Wheezy. Like they place is really nice.
Okay,
yeah, it's really nice. But they didn't have a great season.
Right.
But as far as the venue itself, yeah, it's very nice.
The state of basketball at the HBCU level. Again, you're scouting the players, and in order to scout the players, you got to watch these teams play. The state of HBCU basketball, having only one HBCU alum in the NBA right now, and that's Rob Covington. And then the fact that routinely when you look at the whatever power metrics you want to use to look at the quality of a conference, whatever data you want to use, be it something Jerry Palm has or what have you, HBCUs, the SWAC and MEAC, those two basketball playing conferences, those are always at the bottom. If they're not the bottom two, they're near the bottom. The overall health and the state of basketball at the HBCU level, how do you feel like it is? It improving? Is it a couple of years away? Is it just, hey, one big time player coming through away? What's the state and the health of HBCU basketball right now?
I think it's good. The National Player of the Year, the HBCU National Player of the Year, Joe Bryant Jr. from Norfolk State, was also the Conference Player of the Year. He's special, right? And then he also, that same weekend of playing at the HBCU All-Star, he played in the Reese's NCAA All-Star Game as well. So he was the first player to play in both games that same weekend, which lets you know what kind of player he is. And I think that he can play at the next level. It's just a matter of getting that opportunity, In regards to the HBCU All-Star Game, our last two MVPs came from Division II schools, so there is some talent there. But with the transfer portal, and student athletes moving wherever they want to go, I think we will get a few players from, the Power Fives and some other D1s and things of that nature to come to a HBCU and break out.
And this past season, during the non-conference, we saw some big-time upsets at the HBCU level. We saw teams coming in. Colorado immediately comes to mind. They come in and they take on HBCU opponent on the road, and they end up losing. And that happened 3 or 4 times this season. So in a one-game sort of situation.
Just go ahead and say it was Grambling that beat them. Go ahead.
Was it Grambling? Couldn't remember. All right, so Grambling did it.
Man.
Grambling got Colorado.
We got Colorado. We got Vanderbilt. I mean,
in a week time span, like a week and a half, 2 week time span, knocked off both of those, which is great for Grambling State and for all of HBCU basketball. I think Texas Southern got a big win. Florida, they beat ranked Florida. I think Florida was ranked 2 years ago when Texas Southern beat them. I'd have to go back and double check that. But yeah, it was so there have been moments where it's like, they're close. They're just not quite able to get over the hump. And Howard played Kansas real tough for like a half and some change. And then it was just, okay, Kansas very clearly has way more depth and are a different team entirely than Howard was ready for. But, for a half, that was a ball game. Yeah. I just wonder how close, just put on your psychic goggles. Mm-hmm. How close do you think we are to an HBCU team making a tournament-type run? Getting out of the first weekend, we'll say. Get to a Sweet 16. That a HBCU, putting you back on the spot, coach, an HBCU team will get to the Sweet 16 in the year
2030.
Okay, all right, that's not that far. That's like 7 seasons away.
Yeah,
we good to go.
It is. It's a lot of talent. It just gets tough when you get to the tournament. I think the play-in game, me personally, I think that's a good opportunity for a team to advance, right? Because when you win that play-in game in Dayton, you won a first-round game, right? So, we've had teams to do that and then advance to the next round and things of that nature. But it's tough, CJ, in a sense that, those teams that we go up against, they are well prepared, right? The coaching, the film breakdown. I mean, all of those things go into play. So if you just play and then your next opponent is Duke and Duke get a chance to watch you, play the previous weekend and they know all of your sets, they know your tendencies, they know everything. So it makes it tough, whereas sometimes, you go into that game, you focus on the team that you're playing and your turnaround for your next opponent is much shorter, right? Much quicker, and you don't really, you hope the guy's ready.
Yeah. But
sometimes, when you go that 16 versus 16, then now you go 16 versus 1, that's tough.
Yeah.
So we just, optimistic about guys coming in and being ready to go.
It is startling. If you've never done it and you want a fun exercise, grab a random D1 HBCU and look at their basketball coaching staff. Just look at their staff, we'll say, and then grab a Power 5 basketball program and look at their staff. I think we did this, so me and regular Jacob and other Jacob, and I think Robbie did it as well. We were all together just looking at the staff comparison between like a Florida and I think it was Hampton. It was one of the HUs. I can't remember exactly. And Florida, easily 15, maybe 20 people on staff, from food nutritionists, wait staff, coaching, assistant coaching, video team, like that type of stuff, training staff. And then you look at one of the HBCUs and it's 4. It's coach, assistant to this, and that's it.
And a volunteer coach.
And a volunteer. Like that's it. So it is hard. It is hard. The resources are very different betwixt the two. We'll get you out of here on this one, Coach. Are there some players you're excited about this year coming into the HBCU basketball season. We are well removed from basketball. We are sitting here in the dog days of summer. Basketball don't start till the fall, man. It don't start till October, November. But if you can think of any that you're kind of excited about watching or looking forward to seeing, or even a basketball team or two at the HBCU level that you're like, okay, I saw them last year. They weren't quite there. They're bringing some talent back. They should be pretty special this year.
Man, CJ, you put me on the spot.
This is the whole show. Just put you on the spot, Coach. That's my bad.
Nah, it's fine. I'm built for it. But nah, for my job, a lot of the evaluations are focused on seniors. So, for a junior, I don't really, focus on them as much. In regards to teams, I had my first evaluation experience of the CIAA, and that experience was great. I know Virginia Union does a great job. Winston-Salem State does a great job. Lincoln looked pretty good. SIAC, Tuskegee's going to be tough.
Damn right.
Morehouse is going to be tough.
We don't need to hear about anybody else out of the SEAC, baby. It's all about them Golden Tigers, Coach. You can stop right there. Man, if you wanted to, you could have just said Golden Tigers. We could have ended right there.
I'd be remiss not to mention, Miles College.
Whatever.
Right, some. But, in regards to the SWAC, Grambling coming off a 24-win season, something like that. He's going to be solid again. DJ is doing a great job over there for the G-Men. Texas Southern, I talked to Coach just yesterday, and he said he got a couple of transfers in who he feels is going to complement his point guard, PJ, who I think, that's one for sure. He will be an HBCU All-Star. I've been watching him for a couple of years, and I thought he was a senior.
Right.
But definitely Texas Southern, they're gonna be solid. Alcorn gonna be feisty. I'm not sure what Mo Williams at Jackson State going to look like coming in. And the MEAC, Howard, Coach did a great job. Coach Blakeney did a great job over there, and that was one game where I will say the atmosphere was very, very electric. That was Howard and Morehouse, right? Okay. It was standing room only. The line was out the door.
That was in D.C.?
In D.C. Yeah. I couldn't even get in. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. I'm like, whoa, I'm media coverage. I'm using your language, And so I couldn't even get in, man. Then they had me standing up for the first half, and then finally – I was able to get a seat behind the bench, but, it was standing room only. They had all the cheerleaders. Like, they had a blue group and a white group. They had a red group behind it, that atmosphere was electric, but I do feel like they just need a larger venue.
Yeah.
But it was electric. But Howard's going to be solid. Who else in the MEAC? Not sure. I think Reggie Theus should be better at Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
And let me see.
Coach, for somebody who's been put on the spot, you done named like 12 different teams, Coach.
Man, I told you I'm built for it, baby.
Coach Bo, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and your busy schedule to join us and talk about the state of HBCU basketball. We do appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, CJ. Anytime, man. I appreciate you and keep up the great work.
Great is strong, Coach. That's a strong adjective. But I'll do my best. I'll do my best to make you proud. Listen, that'll do it for this week's episode of HBCU Huddle. Come back next week. We'll have more interviews from SWAC Media Day with some of your favorite SWAC coaches and personalities. Mike will be back as well. It'll be a whole lot of fun, everybody. So thank you so much for journeying with us on this. I'm CJ Hurt. So for me, for Coach Bo, for Mike, we'll holler at you next week.